And it's not a knock, it's just how he plays in that spread wide open offense, and you project that to a spread wide open field. Yes, the arm may not be as strong.
I can't imagine there's many people that think Dillon Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. I don't care where they were drafted. And if the Browns are the one team that thinks that, then I'm going to suspect it's not true.
I never root against anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Dillon Gabriel's ever a legitimate starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'd be surprised. I just don't think.
Big news coming out of Cleveland. The competition for the starting quarterback spot is getting intense. Right now, it looks like Shedeur Sanders is pulling ahead in the race for QB1, while Dillon Gabriel is starting to raise concerns about whether he can hold onto the job. Gabriel was brought in for his size and physical presence, but things haven't been going his way. His arm strength and overall throwing performance during training camp have been underwhelming. In contrast, Sanders has been consistently outperforming him on the field. At this point, Shedeur Sanders seems to be on track to take over as Cleveland's starting quarterback. This shift could have big implications for the team moving forward. Initially, Gabriel was drafted before Sanders and was widely seen as the likely pick for the top quarterback spot. But there's been one major issue that keeps coming up: his height. At just 5'11", Gabriel's size has become a real concern, especially in a league where physical stature can make a big difference. Throughout training camp, Gabriel has had a tough time making long throws with the kind of ease people expected from him. In a position that demands both power and precision, that's a tough weakness to overcome. Meanwhile, Sanders has continued to turn heads with his ability to deliver accurate deep passes, using his long limbs and natural throwing ability to his advantage. It's become clear that Sanders has taken control of the QB battle during camp, while Gabriel has struggled, particularly when facing pressure or a crowded pocket. That's now led to a lot of talk from analysts, who are wondering if Gabriel's lack of arm strength and ability to perform under pressure might be too big of a hurdle for him to succeed in the NFL. The big question now: how can a quarterback with such a serious gap in his game expect to survive, let alone thrive, in one of the most competitive football leagues on the planet?
Gets the ball out, he's accurate. As far as how's that translate to the National Football League, I just don't see it. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a great kid, he plays his ass off, he's a winner, but when I watch him on tape, nothing really excites me about his game other than the fact that he's pretty accurate, got a quick arm.
Dillon Gabriel's struggles became pretty obvious during OTAs and minicamps, where some key issues in his game started to show. One particular rep stood out. He looked noticeably worried about defensive linemen swatting down his passes at the line of scrimmage. That concern led him to start releasing the ball a bit higher than usual, and it threw things off. Some of his passes ended up sailing over his receivers' heads, while others got tipped right at the line. It's definitely something he'll need to work on if he wants to seriously compete at the pro level.
Dillon Gabriel raises a lot of eyebrows of concern. As you guys know, he had a ball batted down today, and it turned into an interception, pick six. And you guys can see right here, this was a cause of concern coming into the draft when it pertained to Dillon Gabriel, is how, his smaller frame. You guys seen it with the Johnny Manziels. Just kind of with those guys, the smaller frames, getting balls batted down to the line, ultimately turns into interceptions.
That being said, both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have things they need to work on. Neither of them is flawless, and the quarterback competition is still very much alive. Sanders has shown more consistency throughout camp, but nothing is set in stone just yet. Both quarterbacks are still in the running, and the battle is only getting more intense. While Gabriel was having his share of mistakes, Sanders was out there dropping dimes during practice. His throws were on point, showing off some serious precision and smart decision-making. One play in particular stood out. He connected with his tight end on a corner route near the back pylon. It was a tight window, with a linebacker trailing, and the receiver pressed at the line. But Sanders placed the ball perfectly. It was a textbook read. As soon as the safety bit on the short route, Sanders quickly recognized the one-on-one coverage and took the deep shot without hesitation. That kind of situational awareness, paired with his accuracy, is what's giving him the edge right now. There's even been some chatter that Cleveland may have picked up Dillon Gabriel just to block another team from grabbing Sanders. According to reports, owner Jimmy Haslam was very interested in bringing Shedeur on board, but not everyone on the coaching staff was sold at the time. Regardless of those early disagreements, Sanders is proving himself where it matters, on the field, showing that he's ready to compete at the highest level.
There's a lot of speculation. He wanted Shedeur Sanders. The staff drafted Dillon Gabriel, Oregon, 2 rounds earlier. And they were doing that not because they necessarily loved Dillon Gabriel, they liked him, but they thought it would stop their impulsive owner from forcing them to draft in round 4 Shedeur Sanders.
One thing that's really helped Shedeur Sanders stand out is how well he communicates on the field and takes charge of his teammates. His leadership and calm under pressure have pushed aside any lingering doubts about his potential, and he's steadily climbing to the top of the QB competition. The progress he's made in such a short span is making the coaching staff take a second look at their original plans. At this point, it's becoming clear that Sanders is making a serious case to be the future face of the Cleveland Browns. But it's not just the coaches he's winning over. Fans are fully backing him too. Across all age groups, people are showing strong support for Sanders, with many calling for him to be named the starting quarterback. His exciting playstyle, paired with his natural leadership and magnetic personality, has really struck a chord with the fan base. There's a noticeable buzz building around the idea of him leading the team, and fans are clearly invested in his journey. The hype isn't just about what he could become, it's about the energy and spark he's already bringing to the team. Fans want someone who can lead, inspire, and get results. And right now, Sanders looks like that guy. Even veteran quarterback Joe Flacco had high praise for him, saying Sanders puts a smile on his face, not just because of how he plays, but because of the positive vibe he brings to the locker room. It's obvious that Sanders is leaving a strong impression on everyone, from coaches and analysts to his teammates.
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and.
As the quarterback race in Cleveland picks up steam, it's becoming more obvious that Dillon Gabriel is slipping out of serious contention for the starting role. He came into camp with high hopes, thanks in large part to his size and athleticism, but his recent showings have raised some red flags. Gabriel's inconsistency with deep throws, especially when under pressure, has exposed a major weakness that's tough to ignore. Even with his solid build and physical tools, Gabriel just hasn't shown the kind of arm strength and accuracy needed to compete at the NFL level. His inability to stay composed and deliver under pressure has only fueled more concern about whether he can really hold his own in this league. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is quickly climbing the depth chart, not just because of his standout play, but also due to his physical strength and mental grit. Sanders has been throwing with confidence and precision, even under duress, and he's consistently making smart reads when it counts. His accuracy and decision-making have really popped during training camp. What's more impressive is Sanders' commitment. Even without getting most of the first-team reps, he's stayed locked in and kept a disciplined approach. That work ethic, paired with his upbeat personality and leadership qualities, has earned him the respect of both his coaches and teammates. He's become a favorite among the fans, not just for what he's doing on the field, but for the energy he brings to the team overall. With Gabriel continuing to struggle, Sanders is clearly setting himself apart, not only with performance, but with presence. So now the question goes out to Browns fans. With Gabriel trying to find his footing, and Sanders making a strong push with solid play and leadership, who do you see taking over as QB1? Are you holding out hope that Gabriel bounces back? Or do you think Sanders is the obvious choice to lead this team into the future? Let us know what you think and who you're backing.
Kevin Stefanski feels like his job may be on the line.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things. But I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
And so you didn't get this man a fighting chance to compete. He went into a gunfight with 2 knives. He gonna lose that every time.
You know you're going to waive Tyler Huntley. So what good did that 2-minute drive do for him? Was it going to help him? Don't you think Shedeur would have benefited more from a 2-minute drive than Tyler Huntley?
Coach Kevin Stefanski looks like he's backing off, and the heat is clearly on him and the Browns to make a call. After the game, several offensive linemen who'd been on the field with Shedeur Sanders were waived, and a few players had their deals terminated. The blowback was immediate, forcing Stefanski to explain his handling of Shedeur's snaps, especially why he pulled him before the 2-minute hurry-up, a situation many felt fit the rookie perfectly. Stefanski didn't sound convincing. Under obvious pressure, he said he put Tyler Snoop Huntley in for the final 2 minutes to get him tuned up. He looked rattled delivering it, still pushing the idea that Huntley needed that work. Let's be real, Huntley was an emergency pickup when injuries piled up. He's a stopgap, unlikely to stick on the 53, And yet, Stefanski used that moment to sit Shedeur. The message in his tone was hard to miss. He knows the choice isn't playing well, and the whole approach around Shedeur Sanders is already blowing back on the staff. Before we go deeper into Stefanski's full comments and what they mean going forward, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more updates. As for the decision itself, the head coach's shaky explanation only highlighted how tense things have become. Framing the move as a tune-up for Huntley doesn't track with the stakes or with Shedeur's development timeline. It looks less like a plan and more like a scramble, and it's starting to backfire.
And did you, I'm sure you kind of answered this last night, but why didn't you keep him in for the 2-minute, or why did you decide to take him out?
Yeah, nothing more than decided to give Snoop.
TJ Houshmandzadeh, the former NFL wideout, didn't mince words about Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders. He said that in all his years around the league, he's never seen a coach appear so uninterested in a player's success. To Houshmandzadeh, Stefanski's choices look personal, like there's a grudge against Shedeur, and that's what he finds most troubling. TJ Houshmandzadeh called the bias blatant and cautioned that, if it's real, the push on the Browns to dismiss Kevin Stefanski will only intensify.
The fans gonna be saying, Shedeur our quarterback. Shedeur should be our starter. Shedeur should be the guy that starts game 1, week 1. Look what he did. They didn't want that to happen. And I don't know what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. It's almost as if, and I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
And that's exactly how it came across. Kevin Stefanski's body language said plenty. He looked like a coach feeling the axe over his shoulder. TJ Houshmandzadeh added that this isn't the first time Shedeur Sanders has been treated this way. He pointed to the opening preseason game, where Shedeur was sharp, yet Stefanski offered no real praise. Now, after what unfolded yesterday, it looks like Stefanski is pushing the idea that Shedeur was at fault, almost as if he's trying to validate the staff's stance that they were right and Sanders was wrong. TJ even suggested it felt like the situation was engineered from the start to make Shedeur come up short.
Well, like when he played well the first game, he was so off-putting, like, oh yeah, well, we'll see what happens next. Like, he should, he played great, man. He exceeded our expectations. He didn't say none of that. And so to me, it's as if they want him to fail so they can justify doing what they want to do.
And Houshmandzadeh's red holds up. From the very first preseason outing, Kevin Stefanski's slant felt apparent. Even after Shedeur Sanders put together an impressive, mistake-free showing, Stefanski declined to highlight him, retreating to broad comments about developing all the quarterbacks and skimming past Shedeur's standout work. It didn't come across as genuine buy-in on Shedeur's future in Cleveland. Now the spotlight is squarely on Stefanski, who seemed intent on easing Shedeur towards the margins. Ironically, the coach looks more vulnerable than the rookie. After weeks of rigid messaging and thin criticism, he's suddenly pivoting, saying they'll concentrate on developing Shedeur Sanders. An about-face that screams pressure from the fan base. And it isn't only fans. Reporters and analysts are pressing him as well. Emmanuel Acho weighed in, arguing that by placing Shedeur with an offensive group filled with players unlikely to make the 53, Stefanski engineered a no-win evaluation. Acho's point was straightforward. Even a quarterback with Tom Brady's resume would have struggled in that setup with that caliber of support. In those conditions, any rough patches for Shedeur were predictable, an indictment of the context, not the quarterback.
The COVID year, so it gave everybody an extra year if you wanted it.
Understandable. But listen, it's
what the chat say? Who the chat believe he took a shot or no?
Let me look in the chat. I ain't even open my phone. Hold on. I'm curious to see what the chat would think. They are saying
Houshmandzadeh's take still holds. From the first preseason snap, Kevin Stefanski's slant felt obvious. Even after Shedeur Sanders delivered a crisp, mistake-free showing, Stefanski sidestepped any real credit, defaulting to broad talk about developing all the quarterbacks and skating past Shedeur's standout work. It didn't read like genuine buy-in on Sanders' future in Cleveland. Now the spotlight has swung to Stefanski, who looked intent on easing Shedeur to the edges of the plan. Ironically, the coach seems more vulnerable than the rookie. After weeks of rigid messaging and thin critiques, he's suddenly pivoting, saying they'll focus on developing Shedeur Sanders. A shift that screams fan pressure. And it isn't only the fan base. Reporters and analysts are pressing him too. Chad Okosinko weighed in, arguing that by sticking Shedeur with an offensive group filled with fringe or soon-to-be-waived players, Stefanski set up a no-win evaluation. Ochocinco's point was straightforward. Even a quarterback of Tom Brady's caliber would have struggled in that environment with that level of support. In those circumstances, any rough patches for Shedeur were predictable, an indictment of the setup, not the quarterback. Chad Ochocinco warned that the chorus of team-friendly critics would soon start branding Shedeur Sanders a bust, reducing him to fifth-string status, and the real problem would get ignored. Kevin Stefanski put Shedeur in a no-win setup. Despite growing backlash, Ochocinco argued this all looks like a coordinated effort to drag Shedeur down, with more energy spent tearing him apart than acknowledging why he struggled. He was right about the setup, but wrong about the Browns skating by. Fans are loudly calling for Stefanski's job over what they view as clear bias towards Shedeur Sanders, and that pressure is only intensifying. Skip Bayless also weighed in, blasting Cleveland's approach as the worst way to handle a young quarterback. He pointed to a recurring pattern. Shedeur has been consistently mishandled by Stefanski and by the organization, and that this isn't a one-off misstep. In Bayless's view, Sanders hasn't been given a fair runway or the right support, and the way the team has managed him has only piled on the pressure, making it even harder for him to succeed.
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League, now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
Given how this has played out with Shedeur Sanders, it's hard to escape the sense he was put behind the 8-ball from the start. When he made his first preseason start, Stephen A. Smith said the Browns were setting Shedeur up to fail, and recent events only strengthen that take. Between the lack of meaningful first-team reps and a string of puzzling play calls, the context never looked built for growth. At this point, the pattern makes his setbacks feel less like natural growing pains and more like the product of an environment that was never set up for him to succeed.
We have seen Shedeur Sanders take second-team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move-the-ball period, it was really one of the first move-the-ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it, and I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him to do so far.
Big news out of Cleveland. Things have taken quite a turn. Mary Kay Cabot, who used to be one of Shedeur Sanders' biggest critics, is now giving him credit where it's due. She recently shared that Shedeur has officially moved up to take first-team reps at training camp, ahead of Dillon. According to Cabot, Shedeur didn't just land the spot, he genuinely earned it, showing real improvement and skill. This is a big shift in how Shedeur is being talked about, and it really speaks to his hard work and focus. Cabot now says he's no longer just a rookie backup, he's a real contender for the starting QB job. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has reportedly approved Shedeur for those first-team reps, which are expected to start next month. It's a big step forward, and a clear sign that Shedeur is ready to compete at the top level. As we get closer to the season, all eyes will be on Shedeur to see if he can lock in that starting role. But it wasn't always this way. Back during minicamp and OTAs, Cabot was one of his toughest critics. She constantly labeled him as a fourth-team quarterback and argued that he wasn't getting the reps he needed to show what he could do. For a while, she seemed like one of the only media figures not sold on his potential. While most of the coverage was backing Shedeur, Cabot stood firm in her doubts about whether he was truly ready.
The way it played out yesterday is the way that I thought it would, is that Shedeur right now is the fourth-team quarterback. He did not take any team reps yesterday. Sometimes there's misinformation that comes out of an OTA like that, but he just did not take any team reps. And not just that he wasn't the second guy or the first guy, he didn't take any 11-on-11s yesterday.
At one point, Mary Kay Cabot even claimed that Cleveland wasn't setting up Shedeur Sanders to compete for the starting role. In her view, Shedeur wasn't in line to start any preseason games, at least not yet. While he was holding it down with the fourth-team offense, Cabot highlighted that he wasn't being prepped the same way as Dillon Gabriel or the more experienced Kenny Pickett. According to her, the coaching staff hadn't given Shedeur the go-ahead to practice with the first-team unit, leaving a lot of people wondering what his actual role on the team would be. At that stage, it was obvious Shedeur still had a lot to prove. When Cabot was pushing the idea that Shedeur was stuck as the fourth-string QB, plenty of people pushed back, and Kimberly A. wasn't having it. When she was asked whether Shedeur had been buried on the depth chart, she didn't hesitate. Kimberly shut the notion down completely. She said flat out that there was no way you could seriously put him in that spot. Anyone who thought Shedeur was being overlooked, she said, was just getting it wrong. According to Kimberly, it wasn't just unlikely, it was straight up inaccurate to say he wasn't being noticed. His skill presence, and the way he played made it impossible to ignore him.
He's as old as Harry, and you're sending him out there against these guys. I don't like anything about it.
Extension because it hurts the team every way you look at it.
And then finally, Kmart. If I said Cleveland, are they making a mistake burying Shedeur Sanders on their depth chart?
Greeny, I don't think he's buried at all. I think it's so premature to even frame it like this. I understand the interest given the fact that there are 4 quarterbacks there, but to say a disservice is being done to Shedeur, I think is a bit.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't just stop at calling Shedeur a 4th-string quarterback. She kept doubling down. She even floated the idea that Deshaun Watson could return and take the first-team reps instead of Shedeur. Her comments came across like she was trying to downplay any momentum Shedeur was building, insisting that Watson would likely have the better shot at running the offense. It started to feel like she was more focused on finding ways to discredit Shedeur than acknowledging his progress. Even with his clear potential and steady improvement, Cabot kept pushing a narrative that seemed more about keeping him out of the spotlight than giving him a fair shot.
People kind of went crazy over something I wrote last week, that Deshaun's going to have a chance to come in and compete. I didn't say Deshaun was going to come in and be the starting quarterback, that it will be someone else. I don't know if it will be a rookie that they bring in. I don't know if it will be someone that is on someone's roster right now that they're going to try to trade for.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't hold back when talking about Shedeur Sanders after his ticketing incident. She openly questioned whether he had what it takes to be a true quarterback, calling the situation a serious red flag. Cabot didn't just mention the speeding. She pointed out that Shedeur was going a shocking 40 miles over the limit. She even claimed he was racing another driver who was clocked at 92 miles per hour, describing the whole thing as reckless and dangerous. Her coverage left no room for interpretation. "This isn't what you want from your quarterback," she said, framing the incident as more than just a traffic mistake. It was, in her view, a sign of deeper concerns about his maturity and leadership. But Shedeur's fans weren't having it. The backlash came quickly and loudly. As the criticism piled up, Cabot eventually shut off her comments, clearly seeing that the narrative she'd been pushing was falling apart. She started to realize that sticking to her stance would only hurt her credibility, especially with Shedeur continuing to prove himself. Recognizing that it's okay to change course when the facts do, Cabot finally gave Shedeur his due. She acknowledged his obvious talent and the progress he's made, fully backing him now as a key part of the Browns' quarterback picture. After everything, she had to face the reality. Shedeur Sanders was the real deal. She admitted he had pulled ahead of Dillon Gabriel on the depth chart and was now getting first-team reps. The work Shedeur had put in, the strides he made, and the undeniable skill he showed on the field couldn't be ignored anymore. Cabot came to terms with what had become crystal clear. Shedeur was a serious contender for the starting quarterback job. His moment had arrived.
Seen Shedeur Sanders take second-team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move-the-ball period, it was really one of the first move-the-ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it, and I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him.
Mary Kay Cabot even went so far as to say that Shedeur Sanders had left a strong impression every time he spoke to the media. She pointed out how his poise and maturity during interviews only added to his rising reputation, stressing that the Browns were taking everything into account. According to her, Shedeur seemed to stand out above every other quarterback on the roster. It was becoming more and more obvious that his progress wasn't limited to just what he was doing on the field. He was also stepping up as a leader off of it. Her change in tone showed just how hard it was to ignore Shedeur's impact and the potential he was starting to reveal in every part of the game. Shedeur Sanders has now shown, without question, that his skill and drive are the real deal. Even Cabot, once one of his harshest critics, has come around. His development as a player, his ability to exceed expectations, and the way he carries himself in front of the media have all helped shift the conversation. He started out being dismissed as a fourth-string quarterback, but Shedeur kept pushing, eventually moving ahead of names like Dillon Gabriel. Through strong showings during minicamps, OTAS, and the lead up to the season, he's proven he's ready for the spotlight. And it's not just Mary Kay who's flipped her stance. A lot of people who once doubted him are now among his loudest supporters, giving him credit for the growth he's shown and the potential he brings to the team. Shedeur's rise has been all about resilience. He's turned criticism into motivation, and that dedication has earned him respect. His progress isn't just about football, it's also about the leadership and maturity he's displayed along the way. As Shedeur keeps growing, it's clear he's not just another rookie, he's on track to become a breakout star. What do you think? Has Shedeur truly earned his spot as a starting QB contender, or is there still more work to do? Was Mary Kay right to change her opinion, or should she have stuck with her original take? What do you think was the turning point that flipped the script for Shedeur? And do you believe this support he's getting will keep building as the season goes on?